Today we've got a great revenge story on gas thieves. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, bring your own drinks into the bar? Oh no, they seem to have gone missing. Years ago, after graduating, I was assistant manager of a student union bar in the UK for a year. For those unfamiliar, student union bars have cheap drinks with all profits going toward funding events, societies, and sport teams. They also acted like common rooms and students could hang out without having to buy anything. Bringing in outside drinks, however, wasn't allowed. We would have to stop people bringing outside drinks in maybe a couple of times a month. Then one group started showing up every night with shopping bags full of booze. They never bought anything from the bar but got steadily drunk, so it was obvious something was up. They were a generally obnoxious bunch, rude to staff and other students. They hid their alcohol in a dark corridor near the toilets, dumping it under their coats. We caught them there a few times, told them it was staff only, and removed them, but they kept at it. So one night, I waited until they stashed everything, and then stepped out of the bar office, which is opened right into that corridor, scooped up all of their coats and bags, easily enough booze for a house party, and took it all back into the office. 10 minutes later, their self-appointed leader sheepishly approached me at the bar. "Hello, mate. What can I get you?" They say, nothing thanks. We left our coats in the corridor, but they've gone missing. I reply, "You mean the staff-only corridor we've removed you from before? Why would you put them there?" They say, we were just storing them until we left." I said, "Alright, I'll check if we had anything handed in. Meet me in the corridor." I came out of the office door they clearly didn't realize existed with their coats and handed them over. They say, "Oh, we, had some bags too." I respond, "What was in them?" They say, wine, beer, and vodka and stuff. I popped my head back into the office for all of a second, returned with a smile, and said, "Sorry, no one's handed in anything like that." A long pause went by. "Oh, okay," the leader muttered, delightfully dejected, and they all slunk off. I don't think they set foot in that bar for the rest of the year. Staff drinks that night were wild. This is one of those situations where it's so easy to have a slam dunk win because it's not like they're supposed to be able to claim they brought that alcohol in. I mean, what could have been the alternative to that self-appointed leader mumbling, "Oh, okay," when they were told, "Nope, haven't seen any alcohol here." It's not like they're really in a position to actually press OP on that further. Yajnip commented, "There was a bar on a campus in Houston. They charged like $46 per red cup of beer. It was Pearl and Pearl Block. Not bad for the price. They weren't allowed to turn a profit, so if they started to make money, they would pay you to drink. You walk up, order your beer, get said beer in like 17 cents. In addition to Pearl, there was good beer, so you drink enough Pearls to have enough money to afford good beer. It was crazy. Show up with like $5, get hammered, and still have change in your pocket at the end of the night." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of revenge, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. Our next story is, want to make my life difficult after the breakup? Let's make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. This recently came up in a conversation with my sister, and I thought it's perfect for petty revenge. After me, 25-year-old female, and my ex, 26-year-old male broke up, he made my life miserable. I'm talking about contacting my friends and my sister to talk crap about me after I blocked him, posting on Reddit about his version of the story and sending me the links to them, among other things. It was overall a very messy situation. He had all the classic traits of a narcissist pretending to be this awesome person, very woke, feminist, supportive of all his friends, etc. But in reality, he was just a piece of crap and hated on everyone, which he used to proudly tell me. Then the opportunity presented itself. His roommate, who I was good friends with at that time, invited me for a birthday celebration. I decided to go primarily to see his cat, who I loved. The thing about my ex is he had a very close-knit group of friends who had known each other for more than 10 years, and all of them are in each other's businesses. This group included a female friend of his, who I was somewhat close-ish. Keep in mind that all of them think that he's some gift to mankind. And I decided that ended today. So on the day of the party, when my ex was getting crap-faced, I pulled aside the female friend, the roommate's girlfriend, and another girl in their group and laid out everything abusive he had done over the course of the relationship, including bringing another girl to his room at night all the gaslighting behavior, his behavior after the breakup. I also added his somewhat problematic views regarding feminism and how misogyny is sometimes okay. Why was I even with him? Along with this, I mentioned he criticized all of their relationships and especially not liking the roommate's girlfriend. I threw in some "I always defended you" also, and then left after eating the cake, of course. The fallout that I got to know after a few months through another friend is that all of his friends confronted him, which led to a huge fight, and he was, to put it lightly, let go from the group. No longer invited to anything, even though he lives in the same house. Now, a few days back, I got to know that he's moving away from the city. So yeah, this was quite satisfying to hear. You know, I don't even understand why they invited OP to begin with. Was it like an attempt to make them look good with everybody else there at the party? Like, look, me and my ex are still on good terms. Or were they like foolishly thinking they could do all these awful things to OP and then expect that OP's gonna still have their back? I guess OP kind of really hit the nail on the head when they said classic traits of a narcissist pretending to be this awesome person. Pillow Talks XO commented, "Whoa, that's one heck of a move, OP." Not gonna lie, the dude did have it coming. Bringing the truth to light is never pretty in my opinion. And you just gave that dude a tasting of his own medicine, kinda like Karma 2.0. And hey, hope you're doing alright and out of that mess. People gotta realize there's no room for that narcissistic BS in their lives. Be brave, be awesome, stay strong. Our next story is, they don't tell me nothing. In high school, I was attending an award ceremony breakfast. My group was seated with another school's participants and coach. They asked us where we were from. As we started answering, they seemed unclear. I asked if they knew Auburn University, then said that we were from a city directly next to Auburn, where the university is located. The coach/teacher said, "That don't tell me nothing." I'm a smart butt. Always have been, so I immediately asked them, "Where are y'all from?" They started answering, explaining where this mountain is and there's a river next to it and then the place they're from is right there. One of my teammates leans over to the other one and says, "Here it comes." I leaned forward so my chair returned to the floor and said, "That don't tell me nothing." It was very petty, but I was satisfied when the coach turned red. You know, I feel like this whole conversation should have been chopped up to, "Yeah, I don't really know the cities around here. Sorry that my demographics of Alabama just aren't up to snuff. I'm afraid I don't know where Wacoochee Valley is," which is a real place, by the way. Coder Joe 1 commented, "Reminds me of my ex when she suggested we see a movie. I'd ask what it was about, and she would invariably list the main actors as if that answered my question." Our next story is, party animals get a dose of their own medicine. Years ago, my grandmother passed away. My brother, sister, and I all traveled to the funeral and were all leaving the next day. We drove to a hotel in St. Louis where we got 2 rooms, one for me and my kids and another for my brother and sister. For some unknown reason, the rooms they gave us were separated with a room between. We had all gone to bed when, in the room between us, a bunch of rowdy kids started a party. Loud music, loud talking, etc. My brother and I both call the front desk. They send someone to tell the kids to quiet down. That lasted all of 10 minutes. We call the police on a disturbing the peace call. Again, that lasted about 10 minutes. This party lasted into the early morning hours before it was quiet. Here's where the petty revenge starts. My brother and I complain at the front desk. They discounted our rooms by 50%, should have been comped. So before we left, my brother turned on the TV, turned it around to face the middle room, and cranked the volume. I couldn't do the TV thing, but could do it with a clock radio. I turned it on and cranked the volume. One of the kids popped out of the room and complained, but we just shrugged them off. Hope they enjoyed the morning news and whatever music was on the radio. I mean, I love the revenge, and it works, as long as the maid doesn't immediately pop in as soon as you check out, which I'm assuming in most places they do. At least they gave them 50% off, but yeah, even at 50%, I'm gonna be rethinking staying at that place ever again. Not that, considering OP had to get a hotel room in St. Louis, they're probably ever really planning on visiting there much again. Leslie Smith 09 commented, "Nothing like being stuck between 2 walls of chaos when all you want is sleep. I swear, the loud party hotel room is a rite of passage." You handled it perfectly. Our next story is, I have no idea who you are at class reunion. My high school class had our 25th reunion over Labor Day weekend. We hadn't managed to put together a reunion since our sparsely attended 5-year. We went to a small college prep school. Our class had 72 kids where everybody knew each other, and because it was small, you could bounce between activities, so there weren't a lot of cliques. High school was mostly fine for my best friend John, names changed, and I, except for one guy named Tom, who wasn't so much a bully as much as just a general jerk to the smarter kids in class. He constantly made jokes at our expense and pranked us with things like creating a bunch of fake invites to a fake party at my parents' house, or starting a rumor that he had seen John kissing a girl who was a lesbian. John founded a company in his late 20s and has done very, very well for himself. He and, to some extent myself, have raised a lot of money for local charity over the years, and recently he spearheaded the construction of a STEM center to be jointly run by several area schools, including our high school. His name got put on the building. This has given him a pretty public profile and made him somewhat locally famous. Yes, his parents had some money, but he has far outpaced them. His company has a marketing assistant that has helped get his name in the news, including being featured by our high school's alumni newsletters and social media. They also manage his social media accounts because he gave up a few years ago due to time and professionalism. All this has nothing to do with ego. He's an awesome guy, but knows that his company's profile and revenue has risen with and because of his personal profile. Tom has, since college, always been kind of a flashy, self-promoting grifter, get-rich-quick guy. Because of social media, I know he first tried to be a white rapper and DJ in the early 2000s, and then has bounced from car sales to some real estate investing thing that sounded like mortgage fraud. I'm in construction and RE, so I can recognize that crap, to some PE-sounding investment group and now has some crypto bro thing going on. Through the years, he has heavily promoted himself on social media and even tried to do the whole pay me to teach you investment strategy thing. He even DM'd me several times with investment opportunities, to which I never responded. Fast forward to last weekend, John hosted a part of the reunion at his house/barn. He has several acres. About 50 alumni plus spouses and probably 20 kids showed up. John and I, our spouses, and a few friends pretty much camped out on chairs on a side patio and mostly didn't bother to mingle. We were all drinking and catching up. Mid-evening, Tom came over to us to glad hand John. John stayed calm and exchanged general pleasantries, but quickly Tom launched into some BS. You know, you have done well, but you could make a lot more money in crypto. John interrupted him with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you're here with. Is your wife one of our classmates? You could tell Tom was a bit taken aback. No, man, I'm Tom so-and-so. We were classmates. Don't you remember I used to razz you? John scratched his head and said, Not really. I think I have a pretty good memory of our class, but I don't remember you at all. Then John got serious while giving a small wave to the event planner, Ashley, nearby. Listen, I get approached all the time like this because of my business, I get it, but this is my home and a private event. Then looking at Ashley said, Hey, can you take a moment to verify the guest list? I'm not sure what's going on here. Thanks. Ashley then addressed Tom while giving him a big fake smile. Right this way, sir. We just need to verify your ID against the guest list. I'm sorry. I hope you understand. Tom followed her off in a bit of a huff. John sat back down while giving me a wink and then said to the group, It's unfortunate. I have to be careful. Someone else piped up and said, Yeah, that was Tom. He was in our class. John kind of shrugged and said, Must not have interacted with him much, and then changed the subject. 20 or so minutes later, Tom returned with a classmate who had largely organized the weekend and had been friends with him in high school. She said, I hear you said that you don't remember Tom. He was in our class for all 4 years. He played on the football team. John again shrugged and said, I'm sorry. Sometimes people just fail to leave an impression on me. I hope you enjoy my home and have a lovely weekend. At that, he turned to his wife and said, Now let's go check on the important people. Make sure the kids are having fun. If you missed this, the kids are the important people. John texted me a few minutes later saying, That was fun. Tom deserved every bit of what happened here because who goes to a school reunion or whatever, goes right up to the most successful guy there and starts doing a business pitch? Like, how slimy can you possibly come across? A successful businessman, you want to get into my crypto scheme? Don't worry, you're gonna make a lot of money. That said, I guess I do hear Bitcoin is doing kind of well at the moment, but I'm assuming that's not what the crypto scheme's about. Reby Mo commented, "Very nice. Imagine the gall trying to go after the more successful person you bullied for years to get in on your schemes. A very subtle petty revenge that didn't ruin the vibes of the party, but had Tom sulking. Lovely." I Am Not the Mama replied, "My dad, 90 years old, tells the story of the BMOC in his high school days. The guy had numerous failed businesses, more ex-wives, and has generally failed at everything in his life. But come reunion time, he always demanded the spotlight just like he had in high school. Dad said it was pretty sad to watch as everybody pretty much ignored him." Our next story is, "Don't want to give me what you promised? Fine, I'll take more. I work in a medium-sized department. The raises are embarrassing, but the work environment and culture are great. Good teamwork and interdepartmental collaboration. Due to personal changes, had to take contract work long distance. Contract work is double the pay, less than 100 miles to qualify, but since I love working here so much, I agreed to stay part-time and was told I could come back easily, but for the time being, no openings on day shift. I go part-time, but night shift, openings arise, and I'm passed up. Speak to the manager, and I'm told that I will not be going back to days because it sets a precedent for other good employees to follow. Fine, I'll stay nights for now, but while I am, I've convinced others to follow me, whereas I hadn't tried to do anything. They don't know yet, but they're about to lose at least 5 critical staff to contract work, and more if I can help it." You know, I think this kind of thing is exactly why, in general, it's kind of surprising to me that there's a culture of not discussing, like, what salary you get or benefits or whatnot among your peers, because then you can actually kind of, like, negotiate and be like, well, why is this person getting so much more than me, but they're on the same tier? Like, if you're in a place where you can't be protected by a union, at least you can kind of do, like, some secondhand collective bargaining. Pillow Talks XO commented, "Man, that sucks big time. You've got guts, dude, turning a freaked up situation around like that. Companies gotta realize that you can't bait and switch good employees and expect them to stick around. Stand your ground. Hope more follow your lead. Show them how crucial you really are. Hats off, mate." Our next story is Revenge on the Thieves. So I used to run a crew for a landscaping company, and people loved to steal the gas cans off the trucks. One day, we had to get all new cans because they got stolen, and these cans aren't cheap. They run around $60 each plus fuel. So when we went to fill them, we filled the diesel cans with gas and the gas cans with diesel. A couple of weeks later, we come to find the gas cans stolen and have a slight laugh. Well, we pack up and head to our next stop, only to find our gas cans on the side of the road empty. We pick them up and drive on down the road and find a brand new Cadillac Escalade sitting in the middle of the road, dead. We simply waved and went on about our day. This happened quite often, but that first time was the best. I still remember the look on their faces as we drove past. No idea how many mowers and cars got damaged as consequence for theft from those trucks. After we told the owner, all the tanks got switched on every truck, and sometimes we would set a tank filled with something really bad in a tempting location. Man, I don't know if this is like going too far or too out there, but if there's like any kind of chain of custody on those gas cans, and you can like reliably identify which one is controlled or handled by which person, like maybe one of the guys controls one of the cans and keeps it in the most stealable location, and that guy uses it as the, emergency porta potty. Imagine pouring that into your gas tank. Our next story is, yeah, I'm kind of heartbroken, but I won't be the only one crying. Kind of irrelevant. I, 28, have been in what I thought was a serious relationship for a year now with this man, 25. There's been loads of drama, disagreements, and he would leave his 4-year-old son with me on multiple occasions. I'm childless, and I don't plan to have children, so I thought it would be ideal to be with a man who already has kids, so he won't want any with me. His child and I don't speak the same language, and I'm essentially a stranger to this child, so it was quite frustrating babysitting him. Then additionally, his child would wet the bed, refuse to eat, and generally misbehave when he leaves me with the child. Again, I couldn't discipline the child properly due to the language barrier. This man, P, would berate me for not immediately bonding with his child, everything I did wrong regarding his child, and etc. P has not been a physically present father in his child's life from the ages 0 to 4. So I told him, you're just projecting your self-doubt and frustrations onto me, because if anyone should be bonding with this child and parenting him properly, it's you first, and then I follow your lead. He had the gall to tell me, you're not fit to be a mother. Like that was supposed to hurt my feelings. I was thinking, duh, that's why I don't plan to have kids. Then he asked me, where is your motherly instinct? In the moment, I couldn't manage to ask him, where is yours, because that comment alone threw me for a loop. I said, what motherly instincts? From where? I don't have kids. I don't want to birth kids. P replied, well, what about the motherly instincts from your mother? I said, what? You know I didn't even grow up with my mother, so instincts from where? Now, he could have been a jerk all along, or I only took note of it after this argument, but he did come back to me and apologized for having unreasonable expectations of me. Then he confessed he wanted me to be the child's mother, which is literally impossible. That boy already has a mother, and I also asked him, what is a mother to you exactly? A child has two parents, and you can't expect one parent to do all the child rearing. Little boys need their dads, etc., etc. Toxic relationship crap. After this specific argument, I noticed his behavior changed, or he was always an idiot. He would be really cold and mean to me, withhold hooking up and intimacy, ignoring my calls and text messages, starting unnecessary fake fights, say freaked up crap like, I forgot intimacy with you is always amazing, and I forgot I actually missed you. I asked him directly, what's wrong? Do you want to be with someone else? What's your problem? He would ignore or dismiss my concerns and give very empty reassurances. That's when I knew some freak crap was happening. I told myself to be patient, and eventually he'll get overconfident and slip up. I needed evidence, so there would be no way for him to manipulate me into thinking otherwise, like he has been doing. My lick back. And so it happened. His phone broke, and for work he always needs to be reachable, so he started using my old iPhone without asking me permission. When I tried to just ask him about the iPhone, he immediately got angry and said, there you go again about your phone, blah blah. My iPhone is registered to my iCloud, so I could see his whole call log. There were some very suspicious phone calls to the same women every day. I thought, that's not enough. Then I found a prescription for STD medication in his coat when I was doing laundry, and one of the call girls' names was on the prescription. I thought again, that's not enough. So obviously it's my iPhone with my biometrics password. Therefore, post some very dissatisfying, some of his worst work, coitus, I knew he would pass out. I began my scheme. I waited for him to start snoring because that's when I knew he was in a deep sleep, reached over from my old iPhone, started going through the text messages and social media. Some messages were deleted, of course, but I got the gist. It was all there. He was cheating on me with multiple women. He and the STD call girl both got treated. So when was he gonna tell me to get treated? What a jerk. I was furious, and then I thought up a plan. According to their conversation, STD girl seemed to be irate and jealous because she had an inkling that he is a tramp. Then there was a new girl, and it seemed like they were saying I love yous to each other, but they haven't even hooked up yet. Maybe she lives far away, maybe she doesn't give it up easy, who knows. So I thought, I'll get a spoof text number. Text STD girl with all the contact details of new girl, and the text went something like, hi, insert name, you've been trying to reach P, right? Text new girl. Her number is so-and-so. He's been with her this whole time while ignoring you. The next morning, P's day was absolute chaos. He couldn't figure out who the spoof number was. STD girl called new girl, and now they were both giving him heck. He was anxious the spam number would text me next since they're revealing all the tramp crap that he's been up to. I pretended like I didn't know a thing. I also texted myself with the spoof number. Hey, are you OP? Ask your man who STD girl is. He suspected I was behind it all, but I was coy. Some other BS happened. I'll post it in the comments if anyone would like to know. And then I confronted him with tears, yelling in the works. Told him after that anonymous text message and the STD medication prescription, obviously he is cheating. He thinks STD girl did it. Last we spoke, he was furious with her for blowing up his whoring just because she was bitter that she was a side chick, according to him. Meanwhile, I'm just chuckling at him spiraling. Yeah, I'm heartbroken. Obviously, this is the end of that fake butt relationship, but I'm not the only one crying. We're all gonna be heartbroken. Womp womp, sucks to suck. P.S. No, they're not call girls, as in hooking up workers. I'm just making a pun. Update, the additional T, the more is just more context on the plan and how it played out. For my plan to work, I had a friend of mine that he had never heard of help me. She asked me, okay, you'll spoof text STD girl, but how will you know she called new girl? I confidently told my friend, STD girl seems like a crash out, and like she has feelings for this man. I also had a feeling that she knew he was in a public relationship with me, so she'll be the perfect person to set up. My friend had her doubts, but I told her, don't worry, have patience. The spoof text was sent to STD girl at night, so now we wait. And he did not come over to my place that night. In the morning, he came over acting like a guilty kid that was caught doing something bad. He asked me, hey, did you receive any upsetting text message last night? I replied, no. Upsetting how? He replied, you tell me. I said, huh? How would I know if you're asking me about it? Like, did someone die or something? He replied, I thought it was a text sent to everybody. I asked him, who's everybody? What's going on? He said, we'll talk about it later. That's how I knew it was working. After that, in the call log, there was a bunch of incoming and outgoing calls to STD girl and new girl. Mwahaha. So my friend helped me in this way. New girl called the spoof number, and my friend answered. She was asking, how did you get my number and sent it to STD girl, blah blah. My friend said, you must be sorely mistaken because I have no idea what you're talking about. Then new girl, while speaking to my friend, asked her, can I call you back and connect STD girl for a three-way call? My friend said yes, and then blocked new girl, STD girl, and P's cell phone numbers. That's how I knew my plan went perfectly. Then he happened to find me on my lunch break. He asked, what exactly are you up to? I said, warming up my lunch. He said, haha, very funny. I replied concerningly, what's going on? You said we would talk about an upsetting text or something? He then explained some convoluted story about an anonymous number texting him. Then later it became an unknown number that texted his close friends, and this unknown number texted something about my name. Then he said the text said something along the lines of, stay away from my man. The spoof number belongs to an Eva, he said. OP, who is Eva? I said, I don't know. New girl called him while we were talking, so I said his name loudly and he had to hang up the call. But before he hung up, I heard him say to her, I don't know this number, I've never seen it before, I'm also trying to figure out who Eva is. I told him he wasn't making any sense. He told me, listen, you might find out about something and then you're gonna hate me. I think my little secret is out. Don't worry, it's nothing that can hurt you. I was seething, but I played it cool. He replied, listen, for the next 7 days, I'm going to avoid you. I said, why? I didn't do anything wrong. P said, yes, you didn't do anything wrong, but it's for your own good because that text I'm talking about, it's eventually going to reach you. I asked, what exactly is this text? Why don't you just show it to me? P said, it's for your own protection, but we can still call and text, I just won't come over to your place and you can't come over to mine. I'm giving you space, I'm doing this for you. What a freaking liar! He kept my spare key to my apartment. The next morning, he jumped on my bed and woke me up playfully acting all giddy. How the freak can he do that after he just told me we were gonna have space? Also, because I'm the only one that didn't blow up his phone last night, he probably thought the text hadn't reached me. When he saw I wasn't enthusiastic about him randomly popping up, he was about to run away on some, you have bad vibes, so I'm just gonna go, see you later. That ticked me off so much. So at first, I confronted him about the STD prescription. His attempts to triangulate and huff and puff and trying to stall didn't work. He went to the bathroom probably to delete all his texts because after he confesses, he would have to hand over my old iPhone. Then he confessed to cheating with the STD girl. I applied pressure on him to confess, who else, P? Who else have you been talking to and freaking behind my back? He only answered, I only had hooked up with STD girl once. I kept pushing, and that's when he accused me of being the spoof number, so I conveniently showed him the text I also got from the spoof number. He was dumbfounded and angrily whispered, "So it was STD girl all along. Dang, she's crazy. Why did she have to do this? How did she get your number too?" I told him to look me in the eyes, and I said, "You're a coward. Do you know that? Did you know you're a coward?" He was near to tears and repeated, "Yes, I am a coward." I told him he doesn't have to pretend to love me anymore. If he didn't want to be with me, he could have just broken up with me. He said, "But I did want to be with you. Seems I lost sight of that. Can this be fixed?" I said, "Fixed? Fixed? You are the one who went to go freak people behind my back, so tell me, Mr. Man of the Hour, man of the house with the massive ego, please tell me what was your plan? You get caught, and then what?" "I'm waiting. What's with the silence, Mr. Popular?" He replied, "I'm sorry, OP." I said, "You're just sorry you got caught." He said, "No, I'm not sorry I got caught. You know what? You got one over on me. That was a real good one, OP." I didn't respond, the exact same way he would ignore me when I brought up my concerns. So maybe he's figured out that I was behind it all. Maybe he still expects STD girl, but so what? I don't care. The damage has been done. Now he has to build up his Rolodex of victims to manipulate all over again. Boo freaking who. After that, he walked me to work while I was on a work call. Then he tried to ask me something about the call I was on. I just ignored him. Haven't spoken to him since. I don't care to hear from him ever again. I have nothing to say, and some things don't need to be said aloud. He knows it's over. Can I just say, this whole situation was extremely messy. First of all, OP getting into a relationship with a man with a kid with the idea of, well, he already has a kid, so surely he won't want one with me, right? Like, honey, that's not how that works. And then OP says, I found an STD prescription in his pocket from another girl, but that's not evidence enough? How else could it possibly have ended up in his pocket? In my opinion, that would have been enough to wordlessly move out and never speak to that guy again. You don't even have to explain yourself. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.